China Youthology, we're a research and consulting company. We're focused exclusively on Chinese youth culture. So we actually research from a qualitative perspective, from anthropology and sociology, and we try to understand what are the changing values of Chinese youth today, and how does that relate to their behavior, and how does that relate to how they see the world, how they see themselves. And then we take that type of understanding and we apply it to different categories or brands, and we help businesses solve their specific questions or issues when they're dealing with their specific consumer today in China, or also helping them plan out what the next generation of the consumer is looking for. So we help them figure out how should they survive and how should they thrive in China. The shared experience of identity is that everyone is extremely fragmented in their identity. So if you go into a classroom, or if you go into a group of people in one room, and maybe it's a classroom of 70 or 80 people, you ask one person, hey, who in this room is like you? They'll say, oh, maybe one or two people. And that's actually that's the reality now in China, where even if you're in the right age, same place, same time, you might be completely different than everybody else around you. And so that's the commonality. Everyone is extremely different, and their identities are extremely fragmented and diversified. What we have now in China is everyone has great choice, and they have great room. The economy is booming, and everyone all of a sudden has all these consumption choices. But more than that, social media, they have a lot of room to express. And so everyone is finding their own different interests. And a lot of those interests are found online. And so what you're finding are these online communities, online tribes, which people are starting to get really passionate about. And when you talk about key influencers, it's no longer television, or it's no longer their teacher or somebody in their community. It's actually somebody, the key influencer is somebody within their tribe. And their tribe might exist online, but oftentimes it also exists offline. But then many people, even in the same place, they might be ascribed or members of different tribes. And so you might have somebody who's really into, for example, a skateboarder identity, but also, let's say, a rock and roll identity, where somebody else might be into computers or computer graphic animation. And they might be all existing in the same place at the same time. And so that's what you're getting. You're getting people that, they can see each other, and everyone is very diversified. There's still respect and there's still understanding, but definitely the languages that they're using, the social codes and the memes that they're using are all happening very separately on all these diversified tribes online. The 80s and 90s still relate to each other. They're actually one generation, even though they have very different manifestations of their behaviors now. But of course, pre-1980, it's a very big stark line. That has to do with the opening of an open door policy and everything starting to get better in China after 1980. And so what you see culturally and identity-wise is that they don't really understand each other at all. And so while there's still a great emphasis on, let's say, family community, and they might have a role specifically in family community, and let's say the community has specific expectations on the young person is still trying to find their own way, while still trying to live up to the role and expectation of the people around them that don't understand this exploration that they're having. And so this creates a great tension for young people today. They're trying to both explore who they are, and they don't want to let go of that, but they also want to try to fulfill the expectations that society's put on them. And that's really where you see a lot of great creativity and a lot of great frustration come from. But ultimately, that's where you see innovation come from, which is this trying to marry and balance the tension that young people are living in today. This generation with Xi Jinping is still kind of like the last generation of like the pre-1980s generation. So, and actually what you're hearing is that they're much more reactionary and a little bit more traditional in their value systems than the last generation before. You always have this like back and forth reaction, right? And so it's very interesting to see in the next 10 years how they, with those values, deal with the challenges of China. But it's going to be very interesting to see 10 years from now what the next generation is going to bring, because the next generation after this one is really a very different value set. But it's going to be about how this generation, Xi Jinping's administration, what kind of world they leave for the next generation of leader.